Yo, what's going on, gang? Today we got BO6. This is the blog post from Call of Duty's website, optimizing the Call of Duty experience, a roadmap to Black Ops 6 launch. So essentially, this entire blog post is talking about everything they've done in terms of quality and life improvements, whether it's UI, the actual game, downloads, you name it, anything to make the game feel more seamless in all aspects, which is something we've seen through like all the gameplay leaks we've seen so far, whether it was multiplayer, zombies, campaign, even just in-game settings. We've already kind of gotten a look, but what are they doing beyond that? And that's what this blog post is going to cover. So right here, it says streamlined menus, smaller downloads, greater control over what you download, and a focus on games. We're optimizing the way players interact with access to their Call of Duty library. Here's what's changing and how we're getting there. So to really just cover the bullet points, so we're not just going through reading a bunch of hoopla, we're getting a new streamlined interface, which we talked about yesterday. It's very similar to like the Black Ops 2 UI at the main menu. It's just campaign, multiplayer, zombies. Very simple. It's not all this crap in your face where you're constantly wondering like, wait, how do I get here? It's very, very simplistic. Somewhere along the lines, Call of Duty got like they dumbed down the gameplay and they made the UI very like intelligent, and it needs to be the other way around. The UI needs to be dumbed down and the gameplay needs to be very intelligent so we can have skill gaps. With this new UI, we're gonna have direct access to all Call of Duty games. So we'll have essentially a giant library with all of the Call of Duty titles we currently own. So if you want to go back and play one, it's going to be in one location, which I think is really, really neat. More control over your downloads, including Call of Duty Warzone. Expanded streaming technology to reduce file sizes. So that's something they're going to try to capitalize on, is streaming shaders as much as they can. Which, if you've watched any of my settings videos in the past 3 years, that's always kind of really been an option, and that's something I usually opt out of. We're not really in this game for like the graphics and the quality. We want it to absolutely run blazing ass fast. We want this thing to absolutely be scorching max FPS so we can be absolutely dominating, doing our thing. They mentioned somewhere along in here about the Warzone download. It's going to be a totally separate download. It's right here. It's going to be in the second paragraph coming through. So they're basically going to separate Warzone right here to give players more control of what they're downloading. We're decoupling the download of Call of Duty Warzone from other titles. When you purchase an annual title, you will only download the files for that game by default. On the free-to-play side, players can opt in to get Call of Duty Warzone when they're downloading a new annual title, or simply download it separately at any point in time. The choice is yours. With that being said, Warzone's going to be its own entity. What makes this so big for Warzone, like multiplayer and Warzone for the past few years have been one unit. They've been linked, and that's a problem because if a gun is too overpowered in multiplayer, it gets nerfed. And if said gun is really bad in Warzone as it is, that nerf applies to Warzone. So when we separate the download file for Warzone, separate server, separate download, and then we separate multiplayer, each gun can be affected independently based on the style of game you're playing, which is huge because it's very apparent when you watch the Call of Duty League professional multiplayer gameplay. The meta weapons, the MCW. If you were to play Warzone right now, the meta weapons, the STG. So we need them to be completely separate so they don't affect one another. It'll help the game stay balanced, which is really what we had in 2019, and we need to get back to that. So that's a huge step that they're kind of separating download files, because I know a lot of people, especially you console players out there, you gotta like uninstall a game every time you want to do this or that. This is massive. So instead of having to download, like, for instance, if you know you're not going to play campaign, it's, let's say, 20 gigs, you don't have to download that now. You can only download multiplayer. You can only download Warzone. That's humongous. If you only play campaign and you don't want the other bullshit, you only download the 20 gigs, whatever, for the campaign, and you're good to go. So I think that's massive. They're giving us these options. And it's not like it's a completely new feature. You know, they do like add-on installments for small things, like whether or not it's like cosmetics or skins for certain things. But they haven't done it to this, like this is, you know, effect yet. Like this is pretty big. I'm not too sure how they plan on doing that, we'll see. I'm sure it'll be a little buggy at first. It'll buff out. So next topic, we got the expanded texture streaming technologies. And part of an ongoing effort to reduce file and download sizes, we're expanding our uses of texture streaming, starting off with Season 5 Reloaded update. So again, this is something we've always had, and they say it right here, on-demand texture streaming setting. I have talked about this setting for years. It's something that genuinely like kills internet speed to have a better looking game, and 90% of players run on-demand texture streaming, and they don't realize that when they're on PC they're getting less frames for running that because it's loading more textures into the map, and they're also slowing their internet down. So they're wondering why they're shooting shots, and they're like, oh, this definitely hit them. Your latency's probably shit and you're probably not getting frames. So I'm glad they're kind of talking about this. Maybe it'll open up some people's eyes to turn that setting off, because realistically, we're not playing Call of Duty for realism. We're playing it because it's the only arcadey, shooter war game out there. If we want a realism, we'd play Battlefield. We're not playing Battlefield. We play COD for a reason. So I'm glad they're kind of honing in, with that aspect. Download sizes. This is where you come in. The process begins with a download, a big one. But downloading now will pave the way over the next several weeks and ultimately lead to a better experience. What they mean by this, I'll just go ahead and simplify this paragraph because I know about this. The download size for Warzone and Black Ops 6 on the pre-order right now is 200 something gigs. It's ridiculous. And they're like, oh, well, we're gonna, as the game progresses and comes out through seasons, you'll notice the game's let's say 250 gigs right now. You'll go to download an update and then your game will be 60 gigs. It's you download all this stuff now, but it shrinks down through updates. It really does. It gets smaller and smaller. I see a lot of people constantly complaining. So it'll buff out. So right here, here's a big thank you from COD. It says, thank you for bearing with us during this update, because this is something they've been actively rolling out. So it looks like everybody's getting 10 hours of double XP across the board, which I think is super cool. I mean, there's still some people grinding out COD who don't take it so seriously, but these are big things that they're trying to do right now. Aside from just Black Ops 6, they're trying to learn how to compact these games and make them more accessible for everybody, which I think is huge. We got Black Ops 6 beta August 30th. Move like never before with the new Omni movement system and a variety of maps and game modes during the upcoming Black Ops 6 open beta. The first update as part of Season 5 Reloaded paves the way for a seamless entry into action. Players with the Call of Duty and Season 5.5 update installed will automatically receive the beta as an update to their existing install. So massive. So it looks like they're making this genuinely as seamless as possible. Man, let's see. Players with Call of Duty and Season 5 Reloaded update installed. Here's your download sizes. So if you're on P5, you're looking at 34 gigs. Xbox Series X 35, Xbox One 17. That's such a huge gap. Even just looking at from Xbox Series X to Xbox One, they had to dumb that game down over half the size for it to run on Xbox One. It's still not going to get 60 frames. 17 gigs for the existing update. If you don't have the game, it's 52 gigs compared to 80. That's ridiculous. I don't know what they're going to do, man. That's actually kind of crazy. New interface mid-October. Obviously, this is the interface we're going to see through, Black Ops 6. This is what we kind of talked about yesterday. The simplified interface. Let's kind of go back. You see right here, it just kind of says multiplayer zombies, single player. Then we kind of get in the game, we get the little bit of the HUD, which is really, like I said, what we were kind of covering yesterday. So I think the rest of this is really just that. Before the launch of Black Ops 6, initially there will be a transition period when the new landing page goes live before the game launches. During this time, MW3 and Warzone will be the featured titles. Players will need to cross-launch into each of those games. This paves the way for Black Ops 6 smoothly enter as a feature for the title. I'm glad they're doing this update before and not as, because everyone would be freaking out. Launch is obviously October 25th. We knew that. Season 1 will remain featured titles. They don't have a date. They have it redacted right here. They have it kind of covered up. So we don't have a date for season 1. I can almost reassure you that season 1 will drop November 25th. Usually it's exactly 1 month after the release of the game. End of November will be season 1, if not 1st of December. But you know, Call of Duty wants that. They want that Christmas money, baby. They want people to be excited for their game around Christmas. They're gonna drop it at the end of November. Get kids talking about it early, so their parents go out and buy that joint, obviously for Christmas. So season 1 will for sure be out in November. But gang, that's what we got for today. If you have any questions, man, comments, concerns, whatever, hit me down below in the comments. If you are new to the channel, enjoy the content, man, hit that sub, crush a like, catch you tomorrow for another heater. Let's get it, gang.